the Chappelle show
I
in the
probably
car.
haven't seen it.
That was, you remember in the car when he's
No,
rapping?
but like honestly, I haven't seen like all the episodes of the Chappelle show. I've only seen like probably the most famous ones that like were trending.
Everyone's watched.
Yeah, that everybody has watched. But other than that, I'm just like, ah. But I'm a Dave Chappelle fan. Maybe more of his like live performances.
Okay, but yeah, get smart with your smartness. Too busy surviving to worry about Darwin, darling. It's like, it's very deep because it's like, too busy surviving to worry about Darwin, darling.
then
Like for me, how I interpret that is like, you're too busy with like corporate stuff and life and capitalism to just worry about evolution. You know, Darwin.
Yeah.
Just
But
evolution.
you're part of it. I think it's difficult to like be conscious of something if it's actually currently happening at present. Like if you think about it, we're always evolving, always growing, but we don't wake up every day and we're like, oh, good morning, I'm growing today. We only celebrate that like maybe once in a year because it's your birthday or whatever. But like every single day, you grow, you learn, you evolve, you learn something new.
But that's not where it's at. You get me? Like where it's at is just being conscious of it on a daily basis, wouldn't you say? Like imagine being conscious of that every day. I think that's more present. That's how I'm
Yeah,
like,
it
it's
is.
loaded. Like you're too busy surviving. Every other thing in life is distracting you from Darwin's theory.
But isn't that what we were talking about the other day? When you were talking about, I think some guy, you said, I think it's
They're
Russell
recording,
something.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you
And like so we can start.
wait, but I have this thought. Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about Russell Bradley or somebody, and you were like, he was talking about like how
Russell Brand, yeah.
Yeah. How he has to do a lot of these things. Like he has to wake up, take a jog, do something else,
Every
do
day,
something.
I need to wake up, meditate, go to a support
Exactly.
group, shower, go for a run, then I'm okay.
Right.
Yeah.
If you think
Then
about
I'm
it, if you're
okay.
busy doing all of that, like there is
But those
no
are just
time
the
to
repercussions of life. I could be dealing with that sort of. I could be in that kind of predicament if I'm a former. You're never a former addict. You're always an addict, right?
Yeah.
You're just a recovering addict. Say I'm
Yeah.
a recovering addict. You'd need a routine, right? Because I feel like if you want to overcome addiction, you need a new addiction. So.
But don't you think like we are all in a routine? Like think about it. If you work a corporate job, a 9 to 5, whatever. Sorry, oopsie. Like if you work a 9 to 5, you will wake up in the morning, get dressed, or maybe go for a jog or go to the gym or whatever. Come back, get dressed, go to work, do your 9 to 5, come back, make yourself some food, maybe watch a little series or a little something if you're lucky, and then you go to sleep. And then every day for the next 5 days, that's basically your cycle and your routine.
I think what makes your routine sort of gratifying is the extent to which you have control of it.
You have curated it for yourself.
So yeah, I mean, we all can't curate it for ourselves, but I mean the extent to which you can, the extent to which you have control of the amount of hours in the 24 that you actually own, that you can say, yo, I'm gonna go watch Love on the Spectrum, with this time that I have, I'm gonna watch the Vince Staples show. So I feel like sometimes you're doing that and it's not, you don't even have the freedom to be doing that. And that's where you miss deadlines. That's where so yeah, I feel like freedom is just the extent, or just another definition of freedom could be the extent to which you have control of
over your time.
Of
You
your
can
life.
curate your time and put your energy where you want to put your energy. Anyway, we are live. So hello everybody. Welcome to Untapped, which is basically a little dojo where Mesh and I chill and talk about whatever is happening, whatever we're experiencing, whatever life choices we're about to make. I think that sounds like we overshare, but not really. I hope we don't.
Yeah. How I think about it is like everything, nothing. Yeah, everything and nothing.
It's like everything in between.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Everything and nothing.
That's fine, man. Like, I think also speaking about the time situation, like I think right now we're in a very weird time. I think we were speaking about this when we were driving here. Like the elections just happened, the results just came out.
Yeah.
There's a government of like, you know, people have kind of, we have kind of chosen something, but it seems like we're all not happy about the something that we've chosen, or at least most of us are not happy with the something that we've chosen.
Okay, I think that not happy is valid.
Okay.
You know, I think it's valid that we aren't happy and we shouldn't be happy, but I also think that the results, right, are a representation of where we are as a society. You know, like if you're saying that the numbers are confusing because they're all over the place, we're all over the place.
But
you hear me? So I think it's a representation of how messed up we are. So for me, I don't even have like high expectations for this government. You know, for me, it's like they're going to mess up how we are messing up at a minuscule level. I feel like what happens at like a micro level is what sort
is
of
actually kind of playing out.
yeah
I think you're right.
manifests at a macro.
When I think about it, it's almost like a stage in your life. Like, you know, when you're like a baby, you go to preschool and then you go to primary school and then you grow and you go to high school. Then you go to university where you're like exploring whatever, doing
So where is
whatever,
South
which
Africa?
is
Where
like
is she?
19 or whatever.
How old is she?
I'm getting there. And then like when you get to like your mid to like your late 20s, maybe early 30s, you start thinking about the serious stuff. I guess depending on like how soon or how late things start happening for you. You start thinking about the serious stuff in your life. Like, where am I going to stay? Like, what kind of life do I want to have? Do I want to have kids? Do I own a house? Do I do all these things? And because of that, you start moving things around in your life. You start like maybe refocusing your budget and saying, okay, I want to invest in that a little bit more so that I can have this kind of life in future. And I think that's kind of where we are. We're in the space of trying to figure out what's important to us in our democracy and trying to figure out like what's going to work for me. Like if I go with this capitalist or this like free market government, will it work? Or if I stick to the same old thing that I've been doing for the past 25 years of my life and it has brought me here, will it still sustain me going forward? So I kind of feel like that's where we are. And I think the mess is kind of part of the process. I just do not know if we will survive the
repercussions of the mess
process.
that comes with the process. Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. I feel like, just to add on to what you were saying, I feel like there's literally no way that the government works as it stands. Like ideologically, you bringing up the free market, right? So sort of like the right wing sort of thinking, the right wing approach. I feel like the ideas that sort of the right wing political parties have versus what would be left wing. Like we could leave the centrist parties because either way they didn't even do that well, right? What we consider traditionally left wing are like in terms of just policy. I think they're mad conflicting. You know, if you think of how EFF on the one end is like, yo, increase minimum wage.
Yeah.
And the DA and Action SA are like, scrap it. You know, it's like they're not even like, don't, like, these guys aren't saying leave it as it is. Like, they're like, yo, even as is, it's bad.
It's too high.
Yeah,
like,
it's too high. Like, and the thing is, from a free market standpoint, I get it, because what they're trying to do is thrive off of cheap labor.
Yeah.
The fact that there are so many unemployed graduates, the fact that so many individuals are left without work for a long time, even the structural people, means that labor is cheap, you know, so they want to take advantage of it.
It doesn't mean labor is cheap or labor is expensive.
Labor is cheap because it's in abundance.
Oh, but if you're actually going to like employ people according to the minimum wage, like if you're a startup, you can't necessarily hire as many people as you'd like if like the minimum wage was lower.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think also like now this is a big conversation, because if you're thinking of a startup, right, I could say, yo, I'm going to join a startup and I'm willingly like
saying you will
saying
do it.
I can work for less money,
Yeah.
because maybe the upside is I get equity and then I benefit from the upside later. Because this is a startup, right? It's someone was talking. I saw a clip on Simon Saylor was talking about, but he's like a big
Yeah.
Bitcoin advocate, right? And he was talking about how people talk about how it's unfair that people were buying Bitcoin for a portion of a penny, like cents. People were getting 10 Bitcoins for just $1, at a certain point. And he's like, that's a representation of the level of risk that they were exposed to at the time, because this was something that wasn't being used. It was something that no one had adopted. So I think it's the same sort of thing where it's like, when something is sort of in its infancy, then the risk that you're taking by being exposed to it means the upside could be greater. So going and working for a startup means that, okay, maybe you're accepting that, but like there's a compensation package, there's a
some
compensation
point,
plan
whatever.
that outlines that, our game plan is we're going to launch these products, we're going to get these amounts of users, and when we get there, we're going to list or we're going to sell, and then you own this amount of stocks, and that this is what this would mean for your livelihood, right?
I get it.
So, yeah.
But my thinking is, right, how many of like the South African youth have the freedom to be like, I will just volunteer to do this thing, or I will do this thing for like the minimum wage? Because I feel like the reality is that a lot of us would do it if somebody would take care of our rent, or if somebody would take care of our groceries.
Yeah.
But like, we don't have that freedom because people need to eat. You know what I mean? Like, like people need to go to school. The basic stuff that as a human being you should have depends on you making an income or some form of an income. And in that way, once you've gotten the income, you can start being confident in trying to like do certain things that maybe you could even start your own startup, a little spaza shop or something. But if you don't have even the bare minimum of stuff that you actually need, I think it kills you in that sense. And I get it. Like, you could volunteer and go do it. But like, if you think about a lot of the startups, and if you think about a lot of startups that are going to expose you to things like that, they're in the suburbs, bruv. They are in
and
the
they're very
spaces
rare. Like,
where
most startups don't succeed.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the data as well, like
Yeah,
over 90% of
right.
startups. So, I mean, choosing to work for a startup
is a big risk.
it's a brave move.
Right.
Because this thing might not exist next
Right.
week,
Right. And think about this, right? Even the transport situation, like you're going to have to move from whatever space you're in to the startup. So this thing
It's
is
not
actually
lucrative. It's not lucrative.
it's actually taken from you. Yeah.
I mean, even if you think of, I mean, we deviated a bit. I'm gonna go back, but like, even if we think of how much, the kind of startups that exist in the African context, right? Like, you don't have a lot of like these fun startups. People are
Yeah.
solving real problems.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you can tell just from the kind of problems that are getting funding and getting money that it's a difficult ecosystem, right? There
Right.
isn't like there isn't money to burn. There aren't
Yeah.
those kinds of investors that are just willing to give people money to burn, right? You need to actually be solving a real problem. So I think that's also sort of reflected in how in how they end up recruiting their people. It's like you need to also be willing to work on perhaps boring stuff.
Yeah, for a
You
while.
need to be willing to work on boring stuff. I remember someone talking about how the difference between African entrepreneurs, being an entrepreneur is crazy. This was Rebecca and Nkong. She said being an entrepreneur is crazy, but being an entrepreneur from Africa is raving mad. Because it's like the odds are stacked against you. The odds are stacked
Yeah.
against you. But to like take it back to like left wing, right wing, right? Yes, that's why it's important for the minimum wage to exist. Because the minimum wage is inherently, just from an economic standpoint, above the equilibrium. You can't set a minimum wage if it's not above. So the minimum wage is literally above what the market is willing to pay. That's why they need to set it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got
get
these guys saying, yo, set a minimum, we need to set a minimum wage, right? And then you've got these guys that are saying, just scrap it. Not even the way it exists is good enough. These ones are saying, increase it. So yeah, that speaks to the conundrum we're faced with. So that's part of the reason why I don't have high expectations, because ideologically they're a mess. So for us to actually thrive to a certain extent as a country, then we need to actually make a choice. Right? Are we a left-wing country? Are we a right-wing country? Are we the rich get richer, the poor get poorer? Or are we trying to have everyone in the country benefit in as much as we possibly can? Although there'll be discrepancies. So we're not there yet. Even the votes
say that we haven't decided.
Yeah, there's a black individual that's still willing to, because if you look at the DA, they didn't get enough votes. I mean, their votes aren't representative of just white people.
Fair.
They wouldn't get that many votes if it was just like they're white people. So you have a group of black people that actually believe that the DA is a progressive political party that could have this country thriving.
But do you think people actually believe that? Or it's just a matter of choosing the lesser devil, and that's kind of, in their own perspective, that's the lesser devil? And I'm saying that because, personally, I voted, right? But, I actually just split my vote because I was like, there isn't one political party where I feel like they deserve, all of my votes. They represent entirely what I want. And even if for somebody was to ask me today, which party did you vote for, I actually wouldn't even be proud to actually say that, because to me, I'm not proud of it. There isn't a political party that I can stand out here with my chest out and be like, yeah, that's my party. And I feel like a lot of people tried to do that. So some people said, okay, we'll stick to, I guess the 40% represents the people that were like, okay, we'll stick to what we know. This is kind of, we will stick here with the ANC. And then there's a bunch of people that said, we want change. All the 60% that's left said, we want change. Other people said, okay, the lesser devil is the DA. They've been here, whatever. And then everybody else in that.
And the Zulus are like, we're a lot.
And then they were like,
we're a lot. The Zulus are like, we're a lot.
Yeah, then they were like, we'll make our change. We'll show you. We'll show you.
We're a lot.
We'll show you who we are.
Numbers matter.
And they got in the MK with that 14% and some change. And it's like,
we're a lot. Zulu people are a lot.
But I think
Zulu
to be
people
fair,
are a lot.
Zulu people are a lot, but I don't think it's just Zulu people that voted for the MK.
It's not just the Zulu people, but Zulu people are a lot.
Yeah.
Imagine if, because Zulu people are still voting for IFP. A lot of Zulu people.
ANC as well.
Yes, you get me. So imagine if vendor people decided to root for one
Political
guy.
party.
Say Cyril started a political party in the next election, an MK equivalent. Do you think he would do those numbers?
No, I don't think so. But I think this conversation we're actually having, I feel is it vexes me to an extent.
No, because
I'm like,
part of our confusion is that we're still tribalistic.
Yeah. I was gonna get to that because it makes me feel like when we speak about the Zulus, and then everybody else is gonna start thinking like, yo, yeah, the Zulus are a lot, but
I was home a week before the elections.
Yeah.
Right? You know when you're with your mother and then you meet other mothers and then they start having a conversation about the elections and they're like, yo, no, you wash. No one's. So it's like with
we're
them.
Still in that space.
Yeah, bro. Even if there's load shedding.
Even the race thing.
So they obviously voted for the
clear.
ANC because it's Cyril.
Yeah.
They obviously voted for the ANC because of Cyril.
Yeah.
So yes, ANC got 70% in Limpopo. We just, in as much as it did well, we're just not a lot. We're just not as many as those people are.
Yeah.
Because if we're a lot, then 70% in Limpopo
Would have created
nationally would have led to
made
the
it-
ANC maybe getting
Fair
50%.
enough. But the Eastern Cape as well still voted for Cyril, and they are there's a
Yeah.
lot. You know, that's not Venda people, Pedi people, or Limpopo people. That's like
Xhosa.
mostly Xhosa people
Yeah.
that like voted for Cyril.
No, but
So-
they voted for the ANC.
Oh,
The ANC. So I saw someone speak about how mostly rural Eastern Cape, like they don't like people there don't even know that there are let me not say they don't know that other parties exist, but they don't like those other parties did not campaign there.
Yeah,
You know, someone was
yeah.
talking about how they didn't come into the communities. So I feel like ANC, given their experience, know how to go to those weird. You didn't see ANC campaigning in where we live.
Yeah, for sure.
You see, so.
But
so-
you see, sorry to cut your thought there, but
Yeah.
I think I saw a podcast of somebody, and somebody was talking about how the reason why these guys get a lot of vote is because they are within the communities, like the rural spaces, where there's a funeral, where there's a party. They're the guys that come in and say, "Yo, we apologize," or we're deeply sorry about the passing of your father, your parent, whatever. Here's a little something. We'll help put out the tent. We'll help dig out the grave. But like,
they're even on the
if-
program at the funeral.
right,
Yeah.
and then and you can't expect like people like that to vote for another party that they've never seen.
Yeah.
They've never.
I don't have beef with people that vote for the ANC. Most of the people on my contact list, right, voted for the ANC. Like I just saw it. Like I just saw it. Like they were posting, and ANC has like a very, very, very strong support. Like those people root for their party. They'll wear the merch. You know, so.
But do you think like
They didn't
right
get my
now
vote.
with this government of unity, we've kind of or the ANC has sold back the country to, or they've taken us back to where we were before '94, or like
I mean, has the country ever been in as much as cool? Like our experiences aren't like the apartheid system, right? Like we know that our grandparents told us, "Yo, we were suffering," right? And probably that's why those people like still believe that it's important to vote ANC because they know what they've been through and they don't want that to happen again. But don't you think that we're sort of like at a place where we need to kind of losing my train of thought, but it's like no, maybe just say what you were saying.
Oh yeah, I was just elaborating on the fact that like a lot of people have this idea that the DA represent the national party.
I wanted to say that. Don't you think that the ANC, given that it's had time to govern since
30
apartheid
years.
ended, has had enough time to like, because I feel like now, because that's also an argument where it's like maybe people are being too hard on them, and maybe the
Yeah, I
progress
think-
they've made. Because then you'll be watching. I remember watching an episode on Carte Blanche, right?
Yeah.
And they were talking about how there's a sewage problem in the Northern Cape.
Yeah.
Right? Did you watch that?
Yeah, I saw
But
that.
did you hear that guy talk about, the ANC dude talk about how the sewage system was mainly for about, I can't remember the numbers, but
Yeah.
60,000 people, and now it's 1 million. So for me, it's like sometimes I can empathize with them in that it's like, bro, this is a system that was mainly catering to
A certain group of people and a very small amount
number of
group.
people. So now you guys, so that's why I'm like, have they done enough? Do you feel like they've done enough? Do you feel like we're too hard on them? Is there any part of you that's like, oh, you're just like, nah,
Look,
you know?
I feel like I'm in the middle, and this is why, right? Like I feel like I know a lot of people say like the concept of Tintswalo does not exist because there's an opposite. I think JJ said there's an opposite, and that opposite is Tinyiko, and that person has went through like a terrible set of events. Well, this
Okay.
Tintswalo went through this positive set of events. But I feel like there's a lot of people right now that can tell you how much they've benefited since the ANC has been in power. And we cannot scrap that. And I guess it is expected that they were supposed to bring the change. They were supposed to do these things. But like, we cannot scrap the amount of kids that actually go to school, get some food, don't pay school fees, go to university, get through with NSFAS, get a job and pay NSFAS back for half of their life. Separate to the point, but like
the right-wing parties want to make NSFAS a student loan again.
Right. And so you can't deny that fact that there is a person who is a Tintswalo out there. Who's a Tintswalo out there. There's a lot of them, right? But at the same time, does not excuse the amount of just pure disrespect that I feel like we've just noticed. And I say this with kind of the utmost respect for all my elders, I'm sorry. But like, I feel that like, if you are going to campaign at a village or at a township and you come through with a car that could fix that entire township's problem, that's basically spitting on those people's faces. We cannot excuse that, right? We cannot excuse. I feel you cannot excuse that. And if you show up and you're wearing like this flashy outfit that literally like just pours out that money that they would like to fix all those small problems in their faces, you cannot expect those people to not be angry and to not be mad. And it's easy for a Tintswalo who kind of went through that process to be like, hey, yo, pro-ANC, they've done this much for me. But a Tinyiko who's seeing this guy who has never gotten a job, who's been trying to go to university, but like they can't pay the registration fee. Somehow the system is against them and doesn't allow them to go through.
Do you think life is, in general, a zero-sum game? Do you think that some people need to win for other people to lose? Like, or do you think that we can all win? How is life set up at a fundamental level?
I don't think, like, in myself and in like my little heart, I'd like to say like, yo, everybody wins. We all eat. We all, but I don't think that's the case. And I think the ecosystem works like that. Somebody has to lose for somebody to win. Some animal has to die for the lions.
Hunter-gatherers.
You know what I mean?
We're hunter-gatherers,
so it's just the circle of life. But at the same time, I feel like there's an extent at which it's just abnormal. Like, if you can't think that, like, if I go to this community with this fancy car, these people are like, they want their sewage to work. They just want water in their taps. They just want electricity. They just, the basic things so that they can fend for themselves, so that they can go out and make some money. And you go out and flash that in their face. You cannot expect those people to not be mad at you, because you are flashing it in their faces. And it's even worse if it's somebody that looks like you, right? Because you can't then go back and be like, yo, these people hate us. Like, it's the other race. They're against us. This is a person that looks like you. You know what I mean? So back to the ANC question. I feel like I'm in the middle. I feel like maybe with, and I don't see this happening. Maybe it will, but like I feel like the entire ANC could just be with just younger people that see the world from a different lens, except from just being tenderpreneurs and tender babies. Like, take people that are actually working in their spaces and give them the jobs. I think you said this to me when I had to watch like the podcast Popcorn and Cheese or something, and you were talking about Sibu. And you were saying how she said like she would see herself in government. She's already doing something. She's already in her space to be like, okay, this is my little project, and it's successful. You can tell,
think
like,
Zulu
if
Boy is going into government in the KZN for MK. I don't know how true the article is, but I think he's. But apparently he's,
I get that, but I think it's beyond the people we know. There's so many young people that are making real change, that are actually working hard, that are pulling themselves from bootstraps. You know,
the reason why I'm putting it that way is like credible people. You know, if he's going into like a Department of Arts, you know, there's something he can contribute.
Yeah, because he's been an artist, or he is an artist. You know what I mean? So I feel like, and another thing about it is that even the people that didn't vote, right? It's somehow like an ANC vote in a way, because it's like saying, I would have voted for the ANC if they would have done, like, if they were doing the things that their policies say they should do.
Do you think do you think most of the people or all of the people that abstained, majority of the people that chose to abstain were probably people that were going to vote for ANC if they did go vote?
I think most people. And I could be wrong, but in my head, I think it's most people.
Yeah, that's
Because
interesting.
I think like the ANC, it's like say a Pirates and Chiefs is playing, right, the derby, and like you're a Chiefs fan and there's like an Orlando Pirates fan, right? If Chiefs is losing, are you gonna decide like, yo, let me just go to the other side and be a Pirates fan? Most people don't do that. Most people will stick to the Kaizer Chiefs that's losing, or just don't go to the stadiums, or just don't watch the match. But in their core, it's like, hey, I'm a Chiefs fan, right? So I feel like there's a good like number of people that probably would have voted for the ANC if they felt like the ANC was doing what they were supposed to do. But they chose not to because it's like, eh,
Shout out to those people for not voting.
bruv.
Yeah, but my sort of thinking around it is polar opposite. I actually think that this time around, like the people that didn't vote were people that maybe were former ANC supporters, but it's like I think majority of people were people that were just like
I don't know who to vote for.
yeah, and I actually don't believe that politics can help me, and that's why for me, a lot of people
really
are
believe
so
that?
many people. Yes, I hate that you have people that criticize people that don't vote or don't register to vote. You know, I don't. I think we don't think about it critically enough. You know, like someone actually saying that, yo, I don't think my vote will make a difference in my life is a decision, right? And it hurts knowing that people died for you to have that freedom to vote. But you need to really empathize with the situation. Like someone saying, yo, I'm moving abroad if the opportunity, if the world allows them to. You know,
Yeah.
if they're in a position to move abroad and get, hey, I'm moving abroad.
yeah.
I want to go collect some euros.
And also, I feel like a lot of people our age are more mobile. Like we are kind of like like a group of young people who are just like, hey, bruh, if I have an opportunity to go, I'm gonna go. Opposed to like the older generations or maybe our parents who were just like, yo, this is like my life is in South Africa, and they didn't think about moving abroad. And maybe that speaks to the South Africa that they lived in some way, that they felt like it was at least functional.
Okay.
And we are at a point where we feel like, hey, bruh, things are going down here. This is not what I would like. So if an opportunity comes up for me to go elsewhere, I'd rather go elsewhere than stick around. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think the elections debate is like, we could have that debate for a while. I know everybody in every corner is
elections
just
debate. I was watching the big debate. Right?
Yeah.
I was watching the big debate. And then I think it's I can't remember the episode, but it's probably not the most recent, the one before that. And this white guy was just so condescending. You know, like those white people that just always feel like they know better. You know, so, and he kept on interrupting this girl, right? And she was just like, no, you're not going to do that. And she said something like, my voice is not land, you can't colonize it. And I was like, okay.
But actually, that gets me thinking. Do you feel like we have been colonized so much that like even when we are in normal conversations, like you are thinking about it, like you are thinking of actively going against it, to the point that like even your voice is like that they
don't
don't
do
come
it.
from
You know,
a voice.
you know what? I'm thinking about
I mean, it's
something
deeper as well.
slightly different, but the same. In that, I always bring this up with my friends, especially male friends, that every time you're sort of having fun, right, as black people, if you're having fun and it's for too long, right, at some point in the night, especially if there's liquor involved, at some point in the night, it's gonna become political, it's gonna become economic, it's gonna become a conversation about how we've been oppressed or the state of the economy, or it's gonna come up, bro, and that's something that never comes up when I'm with the other race. You know, it's like people plan to have fun, and it ends and people go home.
But do you think it's because you're there that that conversation does not come up?
Maybe,
Because
but I feel like think about bringing your white friend to a chillers with black people. Do you think they're gonna limit what they will say? Maybe it doesn't come up with white people. You're right, because maybe I can hear them.
yeah, right. Like
And with us, we have the freedom of speaking in our
whatever
languages.
language.
Yeah, and then they don't, but like the thing about it is we're traumatized, fam. I say that to say we're traumatized because it will always come up. Someone will talk about how, the state of the economy will come up, or just poverty.
But that's why I feel like it's, I don't want to say it's sad, but like when you, like what you said earlier about like people just saying that politics or these elections have nothing to do with, or their vote is not going to make a difference in their lives. I struggle with that because in so many spaces that I'm in, that I'm present at, in like one way or the other, we're going to end up talking about something that has to do, like you said, politics, the economy. Somebody's just gonna say, "Oh, it's just Kodura."
Do you think most people? That's the second order effect. Like, do you think people think about like the second order effect of like what they're thinking? Like, yo, it's just Kodura. So that's because the government. That's because oil prices. That's because I feel like people aren't like most people aren't thinking about it that.
I feel like South Africa. Nah, bro. I feel like as South Africans, like we criticize our government too much for us not to. Because if you think about it, like,
but I think we need to also understand that. Don't you think that we're also sort of, our world is influenced by the circles we're in? Because I'm always, for me, I can say that people are critically thinking. People understand why everything isn't working out how it should work. People around my life, right? Friends, whatever, have a point of view, right? But I'm considerate of, because I tap in, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, like, I want to tap into spaces. I want to conversate with people that are exposed to a completely different reality from the one I'm exposed to, and that's what I'm talking about. Where I'm like, people aren't. No one's ever bringing up
the second order effect.
It's like yes, maybe it could be. They could think that someone else could change their livelihood. Like that is common, where people maybe could be church. It could be
jobs.
Yeah, like if this voting for this person as a counselor can change the trajectory of my life. But they don't think about the nitty-gritties, like, this person's policies, for example. And that goes to like for me, with the political parties, your conversation on it was hard for you to decide. And like now there's no party you can vouch for. Right? For me, I took time to actually try and read the manifestos, right? There were some manifestos I was like, I'll just watch a video about it. I'll see people. There was no need for me to go through what Action SA had to say or what, everyone else liked them. And
everyone else liked them. Okay.
Yeah. Like every right-leaning party.
Okay.
Right? And for me, when I was like reading through the manifesto, there were parties where I was like, damn, like you guys stand for what I would want to stand for. In as much as you don't represent what I want, everything to a T, but like I didn't even vote for them, to be honest.
Why?
Because I knew that they're just not there. I'm thinking about it at a macro level. And probably there are a lot of people.
You're spoiling your ballot in some way.
There are a lot of people thinking like
the same
me about
way.
Yeah. So I think it's tricky. It's tricky. I thought about that, like, maybe it's my vote, but it's also like when you look back, it's like, oh.
Yeah. But anyway, I feel like we're just talking about change now, and there's a lot of change that has happened in our country. There's a lot of change happening in like the tech space, and AI is coming to the space, and people are worried about their jobs, mate. Like, if this bot can do like my job, like, where do I stand? And people are like trying to figure out like where can I upskill so that like a robot does not replace
Okay,
me or whatever.
I want to ask you something. Right? Do you think that AI is the main reason why AI is going to thrive? Because this comes up a lot. The main reason why AI is going to thrive is because it's cheaper. Like it's cheaper to have a robot working for you as opposed to a human with rights. They can strike. All you need to do with the bot is just service it and it'll just, it doesn't complain.
I think I was going to get to that. I feel like there's other things as well. Like, I guess it all comes back to cost. And your question is whether or not I feel like that's the only reason why.
No, not if it's the most important or among the most important reasons.
Yeah, I think so. And also, I think it's because you can program this thing. This thing does exactly the amount of error that this thing does, you can program it to be as little as possible. And you can avoid that human error element. So I think that's part of it. But I always and I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but I always feel like with things like this, there's always an explanation that's not always available to the public, or there's something always happening to the background that a normal person who's just like living their life might not know.
Elon is pissed at, it was like the worldwide WWDC, Worldwide Developer Conference 24. Apple was hosting it, right? Their developer conference. And they were announcing their new partnership with OpenAI, right? And Elon wasn't having it. He was saying that people are compromising their data. Everyone that uses an Apple is willingly giving their data to OpenAI. And you must remember, OpenAI is co-owned by Microsoft as well now. They've invested quite a lot of money. So Microsoft, people that use Microsoft, people that use... So he was saying that he's not going to allow Apple users, I think, on Twitter.
X.
On X, yes. He's not going to allow them. And it's like conspiracy theory, it's obviously for data-related reasons, right? So for me, it's like... do we... And it's sort of back to how much discretion over your life do you have? And so it's like, for me, I just think about search in general, like just using Google, it's like, I've come too far. It's like, it's like how Chris Rock was saying that, yo, bro, I've taken so many things in my life. I'm not going to start being a doomsday prepper when you guys tell me about the vaccine. Just give it to me. So, so for me, it's like, I think AI has crazy implications. I think that our data is compromised, obviously. But I think for the most part, because for me, I look at the world... I try my best to look at the world at a macro level, at a collective level, not at the individual level, unless it's about me. If it's about the world I'm living in and everyone else, I try to think about it at a collective, because it doesn't matter what Maureen thinks. What matters is how everyone else is acting, right? You could be a representation of how everyone else is acting, but you could just live your life outside of the norm. So for me, I feel like most people don't care.
Yeah.
Most people don't care about their data being compromised. Most people don't care about T's and C's. Most people don't care. Most people don't care.
You should care about T's and C's and all of that. It's important.
Yeah.
But here's my chat also. Back to the Chris Rock conversation. It's like a lot of us, I feel like, have felt like we don't want to fight a losing battle, in the sense that, think about this from a practical level, right? In South Africa, we have... don't die. In South South Africa, we have Popeye, right?
Yeah.
And that's supposed to protect like our information, our personal information, and all of that. And we thought like, at least me, I thought like the marketers and all these people were gonna start calling me because they won't have my details.
Just-
But like,
It's got worse.
it just got worse. It just got worse. And like, if in a practical sense we are seeing it in real time, it not working, like what's the purpose of you fighting against it when you can worry about just survival or just like making sure you get your next bag, right? And I guess it's from a community level, like all of us need, like, if you need to fight those things, we need to go against it, we need to like petition and do all this stuff. But it's like that has happened for so long that people have just now become despondent and just felt like there's nothing I can do about this.
I've been actively, like, I'm not even in a cap. I've been actively just working towards my moment. And that moment is when I eventually just go off the grid. You know, like, I've been actively looking into like platforms, looking into lifestyles, looking into, because for me, like with what you're saying, that's what I'm saying. You can't solve this at a macro level.
Yeah.
Like the mess that we're in as a society, it's like you as an individual, you can say, yo, I'm going to live my sustainable life on the side. And so for me, it's like that world exists. You know, when you start looking into it, you see that world exists, and you see people living lives that are like fulfilling, at least from my point of view. And for someone else that isn't fulfilling.
Yeah,
you know,
for
but
sure.
for something that looks good for me. So I think that moment will come. That moment is definitely going to come where I'm just like,
for me, bruh, I like at my core, that's what I would like as well. I feel like even just like being in the city and moving in this, like being in the city, it's so fast for me. Like, it's like certain things are normal here, and I'm like, yeah, but nah, like, where? Like, I'll tell you like a very small example. Like at home, right? Like I step outside my door and I'm by the grass. Like, like I can walk to the garden. There's trees. Like I step out on grass. I can feel it, right? Now I live by an apartment space. My apartment is by like the third floor. For me to actually just as a normal thing for me to wake up and touch grass, I have to wake up, get out of bed, get out of my door,
Needs to be
go
intentional.
down like 2 stairs down or whatever, 3, and then step on grass. And it's like, it feels like work. And sometimes I actually spend days like just being in my room. It's not healthy,
it's
but
easy to
it's
not
easier
go
to
out.
not do it. And I would actually like to be in a space where it's easy to actually do it, to actually live a healthier life. And considering like it's kind of expensive to actually do that. But I think back to like the whole question about AI and it kind of coming into our lives and us thinking about like the broader community, I feel like it still goes back to what you said. Like if one person, if decides like, yo, this is the life I'm going to live, I'm going to go off the grid, or I'm just going to live this little precious little life of mine in the side. And there's more people that are able to do that. If I feel like eventually it leads to the greater change that we're actually looking for. But you kind of need to get people to actually like the idea. And I'm not saying like you need to go out and convince people, yo, homestead, like whatever. But I think as much as there is in like all this information about technology making our lives simpler and it being so fast and so quick and everything happening instantly, if there's another like side of people where they are just showing their simple lives of waking up, getting their eggs from their chickens and planting their own little food and growing their little garden and making that as romantic as the fast, quick, easy life, we might get more people, interested in that. That change.
The part of the reason why I actually brought up do you think the reason why AI is gaining massive adoption now, or people are talking about it at least, because for the most part we haven't seen a lot of what is being spoken about. We've heard more than we've seen. That's where AI is currently at. But like its adoption is, for me, the reason why I was asking why is it, do you think a big part of it is because of the costs, right? It's because most things, I look at life, like back to looking at life at a macro level, and it's cycles, right? Things just happen again, but just differently. Like this is a different product, this is a different bubble, but it's not the same thing. It's not the same product, you know? So I came across this concept, right? I can't remember who exactly it was, but they were talking about, but I ended up going into a rabbit hole of just that concept, and that's why
Story
it's stuck.
of your life, Mesh.
Yeah. And then, but it's called Jevons paradox.
Okay.
Right? And the Jevons paradox basically argues that if technological progress leads to an increase in efficiency, right? You're gonna get unintended consequences. So you're gonna get the polar opposite of what people envision this thing. So that thing of the cost actually decrease, costs actually end up increasing, and this is what happens. This is what Jevons paradox argues. It's that the decrease in the cost of that resource, right, will lead to a greater demand for it because of its efficiency. So in the context of AI, there's going to be greater demand for software, right? There's going to be greater demand for software because everything is going to start getting automated. So you're going to need maybe you're going to need GPUs. So the cost of getting that, right, is going to be where the demand, where demand is currently shifting with living with an actual me and you type workforce that is being replaced by robots. That's where it's going to shift. It's going to cost a lot of money to get the computing power to have the AI functioning at an optimal level. And it's because it's going to cost so much. And a simple example could be when cars were created, right? You could think that they were probably thinking, it's going to be just the people that used to ride horses.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But no, some people were like, this is way easier than a horse. And then they just started driving a car. And that's the first thing they drove. They didn't start with the horse, right? Or better roads. Someone only started driving because it's like, I didn't like driving on gravels. So now the fact that there's better roads, but the intention with the better roads was, it's gonna be better for traffic.
Yeah.
It's gonna be better for traffic. So
but sorry to cut you.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the
Now
whole cost that goes into making our lives easier. And I'm thinking about what's happening in the DRC because if I'm not mistaken, they have the most minerals in the world, and there's just weird things that are happening for these big industrials to actually get the minerals and to actually make our lives simpler. So you could argue that again to what's Jevons paradox, you could argue that of course this thing makes our life easier. I can just tell AI to start washing my clothes at this time while I'm away, and it will do it, or whatever it is that it does, whatever problem it solves. But there is that opposite consequence that happening in somebody's life. We'll never actually see what the minerals they're sourcing will do. They will never see that simplified life that you are experiencing on the other side. So part of it makes it feel like it's you're supporting the very thing that if we were to ask you on a daily basis, do you support a genocide or do you support slavery? You'd say no, but by you kind of vouching for that simpler life, for you are actually indirectly supporting that thing.
So think about if you're saying, these right-wing political parties support Israel. Right? But someone's willing to say, that's not something I'm willing to think about or delve deep into when I vote. It's so because it's okay, this the very same I mean, we agree that it's not just white people. So it's they're black people. It's how are they thinking? Because I try to tap into their mind, and it's okay.
For sure.
If you actually, I'll try to have the bit. I'll actually think you give a fuck about the genocide. For a start, I'll assume you actually give a fuck.
You actually know what it is. You actually know that it's happening.
So given, you're
right?
smart, and if you're voting for DA, you're probably a smart black person. You're probably a clever black.
Yeah, maybe
quote
we should
unquote.
just say quote unquote clever black because
you probably know the genocide's happening. You're probably You're probably on the smartphone.
The average DA voter, we're saying the average DA voter. We're assuming the average black DA voter. Okay,
does understand that there's a genocide happening, but they won't go as far as considering that when they cast their votes, in the process of deciding which political party to vote for. It means that wasn't like the genocide.
That wasn't the first thing
like
in
these
their
guys,
mind.
These guys endorsing like killers.
But we're also
enough.
assuming that like these people actually read the manifestos and read the policies as well. You're working from
I'm putting them highly. I think they're smart. I think they know.
I
think they know.
Look, if you had to choose between getting a plate of food and stopping a fight somewhere, what would you choose? You're hungry. You haven't eaten 10 days. There's a plate of food in front of you, but there's Moses and whoever fighting on the other side. Who are you? What are you going to choose? What choices are you going to make?
I don't want to sound cliche. I know me, bro. I know me. I'm not going for the food. I'm too thoughtful. I swear.
But
I swear.
The average person. Think about the average person.
I don't want to say things like that because they sound corny. It's like someone can just say, no, Mash, you're just capping. You're going to go for the food.
You're going to go for the food.
But to be honest, I think that capitalism, and that's why for me, in as much as so much of what I've learned is right-leaning, so much of what I've learned, it's like there, né? But the reason why I can't become accustomed to it is because it's so driven in self-interest. It's like it's me. It's like people are so fixated on the me. They're so fixated on the me. So
okay. Hey bro, we are running out of time. I was gonna get to the whole mob ties and weak ties and the beef that just happened and everybody choosing their sides. And I think we've spoken about it in detail on who won the beef and do we actually feel like they won it for themselves or for everybody else. And it's a whole conversation that we need to get to, but we don't have the time. So I'm going to ask you to do that thing that we are supposed to do every week, which is ask the question of the week.
Okay,
so
cool.
Do that.
Okay, cool. So for my question of the week, right? I think this is going to be, I don't want to go too hard on you. I don't want to go too hard on you because we're just getting started. But I feel like this is an interesting one.
I feel like I should get ready and do a wusa.
It's not even a wusa moment.
Breathe.
It's not even a wusa moment. It's not even a complicated question.
Okay.
It's very direct.
Okay, so.
My question is, what's your favorite, or what are some of your favorite, because it's the favorite is quite a difficult ask, but what are some of your favorite vendor proverbs and why?
Unembelera hashamba asuwa halo. Which basically means just because something looks like it's going to break down, it looks like it's just going to fail, doesn't mean it's going to. And it speaks to persevering and working hard. And even when things are difficult, even when things look like they're not going to work out, just go, man. The avocado hangs on that tree it's about to fall, but it never falls. Well, it does when
it's one of my favorites.
But
now why Viera Bakoni? But that can be very positive. The last time I was talking about that, actually, I was actually talking about even if, say, you're doing something very positive, but you're doing it, Mr. Kobonara. You're doing it in private. It's you're gonna your light will shine. And people think about it very much from a negative standpoint, where it's
that's where I went. That's where my brain went.
Yeah, that's where your brain will always go. But it's you could be getting up to really positive things, and it could work for you.
It could.
Yeah.
Okay, happy. This is it. Untapped, dropping whenever we decide this is gonna drop. Peace out for the mesh. Peace out.
It's like a nadwa. Do you know nadwa? Tu.
Do.
Yeah, but then, like people always struggle with the tutus, like, and then you're like, yo, you're so, and that's I felt like that.
No, bro.
Because every time he interviews rappers, at the end he's like, toot, and some people are just so clueless.
Like,
how don't you know? But yeah,
anyway,
I don't.
Peace out for the...
Oh, peace sign for the peace out.
Oh, yeah, peace sign for the peace out. I messed that up.
How do I not know that?
Fair enough.
Peace sign for the peace out.
We out. See.